We are live.
We are live.
Hello, how are you?
Very good. I love doing these. It's really weird. Like I do. I like. It's really lovely to not have to be like the person like leading it. It's really lovely just to sit. So I'm excited to do this.
I don't actually, to be honest now, it doesn't bother me anywhere near as
Mm,
much as it used to. So the only part that I still find really uncomfortable is the beginning. As
yeah.
everyone probably who watches it can tell because I'm awkward as, and then after about 2 minutes I'm fine. But yeah, I will get there.
But I think the beginning being awkward is a nice thing because I like it because it's always beginnings on everything. Still, like I make videos like 3 or 4 a day, and I still find it awkward. It's so awkward at the beginning because you're like, we all know that beginning is so important, and so
Yeah.
we always over analyze it. My favorite one is like you go, "Hi guys," and then but no one's watching.
No, yeah, no one's watching it. But the thing is, let's be honest, the reason why I find it so comfortable is because we've just been talking 2 minutes before we end
Yes.
it's broadcast. So it's not like we log straight on and go, "Hiya, you all right?" Because it's
How did
not.
you find that with your podcast thing? Because I used to find that when I did when you used to do the interview show, I would myself, I might speak to somebody for 20, 30 minutes before, and then we'll go live on the podcast. And it was so awkward. The same thing. You like, so tell me about yourself. And I'm thinking, I already know about you. We've just spent 20 minutes talking about
Maybe we should, no, anyway, not be too constant. We'd need to. Anyway, yeah, that's why I
what,
find it off.
you're gonna say just go straight away. No, because the stuff that we talk about behind closed doors is very different.
And then they'd ask me something and I'd be like, oh, but this. And I'm like, Karla, we're live, just not for
The
today. Like,
first, I love it. Yeah, first 30 minutes of any call we have, it's just like so people watching it, if you're one of those moments, I actually had a moment like that a couple of days ago, and it's just on this where and my son was watching Peter Rabbit on the on Freddie's phone or my wife's phone in the car, and normally he has his own iPad, so we've got an iPad, an old iPad he can watch. And I said to Freddie, I said, if we got to be careful because we were talking about something, and it was something that was to do with someone who we knew, and we didn't want any. We weren't slagging off someone, but it was something to do with someone that
yeah,
upset us. And I was like, if he recorded or called, that'd be terrible. Well, we joked about it, but the next thing I was on a YouTube Shorts that last night, and I went, Freddie, why is there a YouTube short of Paris's face? Like, and he's like this, he's like, like
no
looking at
way.
himself. And I went, Freddie, there's a YouTube short. And then in the background, you can hear me going, rah, 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 rah. And I was like, Freddie, you need to delete that like right now.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Literally, I was like, oh my, and it's YouTube Shorts. So that's like TikTok. So imagine if that took off. Like
I
if
mean,
that went
he's from Paris though, he's already creating content.
literally, but I was like, wow, because it's shorts, it's like TikTok. If that was something wrong, like, and I was thinking, wow. And Freddie was like, he has never had my phone again. Like,
That'd
no.
be so bad.
So yeah, joking aside. So today's topic, we're gonna be talking about why you took on an apprentice. You're laughing exactly because Millie's behind in front of you.
Makes me howl because I can't believe I never was going to get an apprentice. It makes me literally like I feel silly and I can't imagine what my life would be like if I never took on Millie, who
Well, I
is.
can't remember what it was like. When you get like, it's going to sound bad. It's like when you get a pet and then you go, I can't remember what my life was like without that. It's like my son. I can't remember what my life was like before Paris was born. And it's exactly the same. I can't remember your business without Millie. I don't actually remember what you did. I
But
just
you don't
remember
really know, you know.
I was there. Yeah, I know. And that's what I mean is when I think I'm like, but what? Like I'm so used to now having somebody listen to our conversations and not say much in the background that it's
Said, for everyone who doesn't know Millie, Millie's nowhere near as loud as I am, so it works really. I'm loud, and Millie is just like, we were joking the other week in the office saying Millie's like a swan. Like she just glides through
it's
everything.
all going on underneath.
And at the same time, though, she's literally doing a million things. But
Yeah.
honestly, like she gets all embarrassed. I can already sense that she's hating every minute of this.
Well, this is one we need to. So I've got lots of questions on it because this is something that in the mortgage and in the insurance and the finance industry, IFAs, all this stuff, it's becoming more and more of an option. I'm speaking to more people who are going, oh, I'm thinking about getting an apprentice. So like, how did you decide? Where did that even come from? The idea of having an apprentice?
It was actually through Abdul, my PT. He was getting an apprentice, and he was saying about like how much it cost and like what he was gonna do with the person who he trained and how it was gonna help. And I was thinking, I need to take on staff, but I've got major. I think it's very clear for anyone who watches this. I've got major control issues and trust issues. So I was like, I don't want to hire anyone who is like me, because it wouldn't end well. Yeah. And I also don't want to hire someone who, without saying it too bluntly, if I didn't like them, I had to keep due to HR reasons or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, and when I was thinking about the apprentice, I thought, you know what? I know that you might not get one that's reliable or that's very good, and they might need more training. But at least I know that I'd get someone who was fresh from nothing, that I would be able to train them, mold them, help them, like go into the business the way I'd want them to. And I started everything, like I did an apprenticeship when my first ever job, and my first ever apprenticeship boss was an absolute cow. She was awful. She was honestly absolutely horrendous. She was so mean to me, and was one of these really horrible older women who were just envious of someone else who's young and was evil. And I was like, I'm not going to be like that. I want to be like a cool boss who's dead nice. And I thought an apprentice would probably suit me well, rather than having another female of my age, me trying to be like that. I would have found it uncomfortable.
And so how easy was it to, because I think the thing with apprentices is, and it's stuff I don't know, I've told a few advisors to get them after you've had such a success with Millie. But like, how easy was it to get an apprentice? How easy was the application process? What do you need to do?
So you have to contact like local college or apprenticeship funding schemes, which I did. They pretty much did the interview, said, what do you want? Like the advert, like what do you want included? What will the working hours be? And I was just when I don't understand things, I'm very quite laid back with it. Mm-hmm. Like, you tell me, like, I don't know, it's not my expertise, you tell me. And he was just like, right, let me just deal with it. Like, I'll say what I think needs to be involved. I had to give a brief of the business, what I'd want them to do. And then he put an advert out, the bloke who works there. And then he messaged me a couple of weeks later and said, we've had, I think it was 3 applicants for the job. Do you want me to continue on? I was like, well, no, if you can just interview those, like, because I wanted them to be starting in the September, obviously with this, the way it runs with the school year. And they like did like a cross interview or pre-interview. So they like basically vetted them, made sure there was nothing like where I'd be like, why have you sent them? They're not suitable whatsoever. Yeah. Did that. And then he said to me, right, there's 2 candidates. Do you want to interview them? And I was like, yeah, I'll interview them.
And you did both of them then?
No.
I was going to say, I reckon you just did one and then you're like, oh, okay, I like Millie.
I did Millie's. And I was like, you know, when you just know something in your gut, I was like, no, I love her. And the funny thing is, because she is so opposite to me, like, she's not opposite to me, it's weird. Like, when I was Millie's age, I was absolute, like, brass. Like, knew I had to go in. I had to, like, give me a firm handshake, look them in the eye, like, you know, proper need to speak really well and very, like, confident. I had all that in my head. And Millie isn't like that at all, even though when, like, obviously now I know her a lot more, there's so much we're like similar with in the way she works and things, but it just shows that it's not, she wasn't the most confident of people. That's a nice way to say it, isn't it, Millie? That would be like, she's was
dying probably right now when you're hearing the going, oh God.
Can't stand me. But she wasn't like she wasn't anything like I was. And it was weird because I thought that's what I would have wanted. Like, it was the direct opposite to what I was imagining I was going to have. But I just had such a nice gut feeling about it, like when we had like the interview, and I felt myself being able to just be myself. Like, I was completely rambling. How she took the job is beyond me, because honestly, I think I said to her in the first time I met her, look, by the end of it, I was like, I know I like her. And I went, look, The only issue you'll ever have with me is I will give you whatever you want. I'll be as sound as you want. I said, but you take the piss, and that's when there'll be issues. Something along those lines, Millie? Millie was like, okay. And when she left, I was telling Keo, he went, why did you say that? I was like, because I don't want to have someone who thinks that they're going to, like, that they don't know that they've got to have, like,
hard work. I know what you mean. Like graft, and I know what you mean.
Like within 2 months of Millie being here, it was work when you want. I'm not bothered. As long as you get the work done, I'm not bothered. Start at 11, finish at 8, whatever. But because I trusted her, and I didn't want to have anyone who I thought I couldn't trust. So I thought, if that scares them off, then they're not for me, because I can be very intense.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so, really? I never, ever would have guessed that you would be intense.
Very intense. So yeah,
but I get with on that. Like, I think that it's funny because I think that the reason why that's worked is because you need someone who's like a calming presence, because you are like a yo-yo. You're like me though with that. And my wife is like emotionless. She's never happy. She's never sad. She just always can just and
that's what it's like. Just like all the time. Steady.
That's what I mean. Is I can see with you, it's like, and you need that. Because I'm actually successful in my business because my wife is like that. Because I need someone to be like
that. She was at 16, like that.
No, that's very. It's crazy. Like, and that's one thing I wanted to ask you with that is how, and I know the answer to this, but like with for people listening, how important, how much of Millie being there has attributed to where you are now.
Genuinely would not be where I am now without Millie. 110%. Like, I've got no, like, I can't stand it when you hear people like make out as if that what
did it all on their own. Yeah,
like, not a chance. If I'd be dead. I honestly would be dead. If
Millie you went away and she pretty much ran it with you. Like, that's the thing. I was so impressed when you went away and you were like, and that was that was one of those moments for me. I was thinking, bloody hell, like, this is amazing. Like, how she's done that. And, so that must fill you with so much faith in, like, you've got someone who can do that.
I got the Carlsberg. If Carlsberg made apprentices, I got the one. Like, and I don't want it might be false advertisement for us to be sat here saying
a terrible one.
Because, like, I'm going through getting another one now, and literally for the past 3 months, that's what I keep going to Millie. I know, but they're not going to be like you. She's like, well, they might still be lovely. And I was like, yeah, no, but they're not going to be like you. And it's really bad for them because they're getting compared to basically.
Well, they don't. Don't compare them because Millie's probably.
You're not meant to, but naturally, that's what you do, don't you?
But you might find someone who comes along who's like not like Millie, but different and adds a different. Because the thing I've really loved about you bringing Millie in, especially like as I was working together, as from you being under another brand to moving to be your own brand. Millie was like your first real employee. And it's adding like a layer, and it added a level to your business that you didn't have. That organization and the way that she runs things is added to that. So you might find a new apprentice that you don't want someone who does what Millie does, because that stuff's already done. You want somebody who does something that is different to what Millie does, but maybe is something you don't do. And so,
well, what I was thinking with the next one was I want to obviously help Millie grow as much as I can. So I want Millie, like, I see Millie as being the operations director of the company, 100%. So obviously to be able to get her to be taken on more, doing more with the advisors, like structuring them, helping them get like a good base, like for their first year. She can't do everything she does now and do that. So the new apprentice would do the things that Millie does, which is obviously, that's why I'm saying, like, it would be a direct comparison. So I'd be like, and I haven't got the best patience either. So
again, I would never have guessed.
Yeah, well, I'm not. That's my flaws. I'm a controlling, pressurizing.
I have this amazing, like, I made this amazing framework a couple of weeks ago. I didn't see you last week, and it's this thing, and it's to do with, and when I was drawing it, because I like designed these things that are like systems, for marketing or whatever. And I'm designing this thing, and it literally is, I had you in my mind while I was writing it. I was laughing and it's these 3 buckets, and it's like, and I won't go too in depth into it. It's like, you've got to put things into categories of what you can control, what you can influence, and what you have nothing at all over, which is like what I call forget. And I said, and the stress in life comes when you are trying to control something that you can either influence or you can't do anything about. And I was laughing because I was thinking, and if it was Karla's model, I'd just draw a big old circle around all three of these and just control all of it. Because it was like, because it's just, because you'll go, Ash, why is this not happening? Ash, we need to get this. I'm like, there's nothing. My favorite one with you was with Apple and the podcast. Ash, Apple Podcast is not on here. It's not going on. And I said, it's going to take 2 weeks. It's just going to say, well, who can I contact? Absolutely nobody, Karla, because it's Apple. But it's got to be somebody. No.
It's delusional that I think that in it. Like, why do I think I've got a chance? And I remember you weren't that polite. You said something like, Karla, with all due respect, they don't give a shit about your money-making podcast with X amount of downloads when they've got billions and billions of downloads across the world. And I was like, well, that's not very nice. Like,
but at the same time, you have that type of authority now with the providers. So there is like, now that's the problem. When you have it with some but not others, I think that's the issue.
I was really, really naive. But
I love that. So, but that just made me laugh. So you talk about the control, but so what would you recommend someone then if they're watching this? Well, there will be, but like advisors, what would be your advice to them when it comes to like apprentices? Is it something that you think they should lean into? Do you think, I mean, obviously you're not into condoning it, but what would you say if someone came to you now and said, should I get an apprentice?
I'm biased because I've been like, and Abdul didn't have like the same success.
Oh, really?
So like whenever I talk about Millie now, he's always like, got lucky with Millie, like, because you get bad stories and good stories. And I just think that you get bad stories and good stories of staff. If it was just a staff member, not an apprentice.
No different, I think.
I think sometimes people shy away from it because they think that they're going to be childish or immature or not ready to take on the responsibility. But for me, I think that's to do with your training and how you deliver it and what type of structure you give them and authority. So I think I would never ever hesitate with getting an apprentice as long as I felt in my gut they were right. So like if I interview these new apprentices and I don't think any of them are suitable, I won't, because whether I need them or not, it's got to feel like it's right for me and the business. The truth of it is none of us are going to know whether a staff, an apprentice, a manager, a self-employed, whatever it might be, are going to be good for your business until you've gone through it with them. And I just think apprentices are just an amazing resource of working out if they're going to be suitable for the business without it costing you as much as it does for staff and as much in terms of like, the policies and the I don't know what the posh words are for it, but basically like the HR behind it all. Whereas apprentices, you've got a lot more flexibility. If there's any issues, like I was reassured all the time by the college that if there's any issues, you contact us, we would deal with it. It's not something that, just completely falls on you. So I like that because I've never took on staff before, so it gave me a little bit of a fallback as well.
I like that. No, I think I mean, I know with me, it's the only thing I've thought of is an apprentice in the future because I think it's a good idea, and that's why it was just interesting because it's one we haven't spoken about. So, any parting words before we wrap up this episode?
You're lucky if you find yourself a Millie.
I think that's the best place to end it.